It was my fascination with my own ghost experiences which started me on the journey of discovery, which has ended up leading me to become what I am now. And I talked to other people who had similar experiences. There was once a time when I had a girlfriend, and we had this long pen pal exchange for a time prior to developments, in which she told me about a time when she was a child, and she would tell her mother to leave the bedroom door open so that the children could come in and play. The children were, of course, ghosts. A while ago, I received a little barrage of private messages from this one particular person who has given me permission to read out this particular combination of stories. And they are rather curious. So I hope you're sitting comfortably, and then I'll begin. It says here, okay, from the beginning, to cut it short. My granddad died when I was 3 years old. My parents and I lived in this house at this time, and my younger sister was 1 year old when he died. I remember him very clearly, even at that young age, as though he was my dad. My real dad wasn't around much when I was a child, plus my mother called my granddad Dad too, so I also called him Dad. I actually saw him die when I was 3. I can vividly remember the paramedics carrying him on the stretcher. They had to open my shared bedroom door to take the stretcher down the stairs. I can still see it even now. At that time I didn't understand death, and I just thought he was joking around, as he was a joker, and most likely where I get that trait from as well. Anyway, a few years later it all started. I can remember it starting, and that, Nick, is why I'm guessing that if there is a spirit within me, or a spirit with me, that it's my granddad, and he's aiming all this activity at me, and always has. So a few years later, I remember being told by my mother, and then told off by my mother, and going to sulk with my arms crossed, seated at the bottom of the stairs. I remember looking up the landing and seeing nothing. Then a minute later, noticing that the upstairs light was switched on. May not seem much yet, but keep reading. This is how it started. A light being switched on, and me noticing it. So it started small, a light turning itself on, and guess what? No one believed me when I told them that it turned itself on, that I had seen it previously most definitely switched off. A few weeks later, then upstairs light started turning itself on very frequently, to the point that my parents noticed it. In the middle of the night too, so my parents knew it wasn't me doing it. But then it got worse, much worse. The light bulbs in the house would jump from their sockets. My dad used to find them lying on the carpet in the morning when he got up from work. They didn't fall out, as they still worked, when he put them back into the sockets. After a while, my dad started mentioning this and asking us all who was doing it, and he thought it was one of us. It wasn't anyone living there doing it, and eventually my dad saw one of the light bulbs fall from the socket. But he passed that off until he saw, according to him, the light bulb in the downstairs hall float from its socket, followed by seeing an ankle, a very human ankle, walk around the corner into the kitchen. He then started to believe what I had been telling him. You see, whilst all this light bulb stuff was happening, I was experiencing what I, now as an adult, understand to be paranormal. I saw with my own eyes the light switch turn on. I saw it as clear as day, and I can even remember the clicking sound. I could hear voices at night, and so could be my sister. And so could my sister. We could both hear what I can only describe as someone scuffling their feet over the carpet in our bedroom. This only happened at night. Then my sister's toys, now this even today freaks me out, moved, and one even spoke on its own. This one toy, called a baby talk, was a battery-powered doll that would speak when you shook it. I remember seeing its damn head turn to face me once. And the worst of it is when it started to talk at random during the night. Our parents eventually removed the batteries from it and put it back in the bedroom cupboard. But it would still talk at night, saying things like, "Feed me," "I love you," and then giggle. I remember this was with no batteries at all, and it went on for many months. Then things started to disappear, like books, keys, things like that, and then reappear out of thin air. And I mean literally just fall into someone's lap whilst they were half asleep watching TV at night. Then all the light switches went crazy. So if you turned on the bathroom lights, say, the downstairs kitchen light would turn on rather than the bathroom light, and that went for the whole house. The next day it could all change over, and then the bathroom light would turn on the bedroom light. This went on for a few weeks, and I remember an electrician coming round and not being able to fix it, or even have an explanation for it. Then, out of nowhere, it stopped, and they all just worked normally again. Then, and this is why I think it's trying to contact me, I started seeing things. It started off with very, very strong feelings. I was being watched, mainly in the bathroom. A lodger we had said the same thing, without prompting. I remember at that time just knowing somehow that this thing was trying to talk to me, but was absolutely terrified. When I walked down the upstairs hallway, I could see a black shadow man following me, so I used to run down there for my life. Everyone else also said they felt like someone was watching them in the hall too, and even though I told them that I could see it, no one believed me. I'm going to save the best part till last, Nick, as I have kept it secret for years, that I saw two ghosts together at the same time. I'm only telling all this now, as it turns out that my sister, who thought I was asleep, also saw them. She only told me last week she still remembers it, and so wanted to know if she dreamed it, or if it was real. And I stood in front of them. Nick, she described what I saw, and never told a soul about ever in perfect detail. However, I'm going to first continue with the rest of the background in my next PM, which is what we're about to read. After I started seeing things such as this shadow man, that even totally scares the crap out of me when I think back. Other things happened. To cut this really short, my mother saw a wardrobe key float from its lock, then drop to the ground. My dad and I both watched as my toy cars would move along the ground on their own. This is very long, but these ghosts I saw a young boy and a girl standing in front of me, smiling. They had odd pyjamas on. They looked a bit like my sister and me at that age. They were transparent and green, like they had no real colour. Yet their outlines all over were green, almost like neon. I screamed, and when I told my parents I saw two ghosts, they never believed me. I even started to doubt it myself, for as I got older I dismissed the whole thing as a dream by the time I was an adult. That was until my sister told me she saw them too. So now I'm questioning again. I'm guessing that if there is an energy there, it can be trapped by items that a person owned in their life. I'm saying this as I have a few of my granddad's things today, and even now and then something a bit creepy happens. What's your opinion on this? Am I insane? Or just a kid that dreamed it all? Okay, I don't think you're insane. And I don't think you just dreamed it all when you were a kid. I'm of the impression that children have much less intellectual and emotional clutter, which stops them, stops an adult from experiencing weird stuff. Okay, and so you accept more that you receive. When you get older, it's harder to experience that stuff unless you do a lot of meditation and religious stuff, which does something strange to your mind. It changes you to be able to reach that level of acceptance of spiritual things. So, no, you're not crazy in my opinion. No, you didn't just dream it all. And I've seen weird stuff too. Okay, so dear viewers, that's your world of the weird stuff for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Sleep tight.